Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel, Trading Secrets. This channel is for entertainment purposes only. For those of you who don't know, my name is Ali. I have over 20 years experience teaching accounting, economics, business and law. And through this channel, I'll be providing some stock analysis and a quick update on the $1 Million Challenge. So if anybody's not aware of this, this is a journey for an investment of $1,000 to a return of $1 million over a period of 3 years using a strategic or compound return investing. So the objective is to try to get 201 trades, each with an average return of 3.5%. It's not 201 consecutive trades, we do take into account losses. So for further details about how to join us in this challenge, as well as looking at access to an in-depth strategy video, information is available in the description below. In the previous video, we looked at ticker symbol MMAT as well as MMTLP, and we also featured a new IPO stock that is due for IPO this week. So please refer back to the previous video for details of these updates. In today's video, we're going to be looking at development with regard to MMTLP Form S1, and there has been an update. So let's have a look at, first of all, what's happened. So there was some breaking news today, so I'm going to share with you here on the screen confirmation of a Form S1. Amendment number 1 has now been submitted. So let's have a look at what this means, what are the next stages, and I'm also going to try to identify comparing the original S1 with the new S1 and see if we can look at what amendments and key changes the company have made and see if they are important to us as shareholders. So first of all, George did previously say that the key changes required from the SEC were fairly straightforward. So he is right about the first one that I've identified. So on the screen here, you'll see on the left hand side, I'm going to share with you the new updated Form S1A with amendments, and on the right hand side is the original S1 that the SEC looked at and did request some changes. So the first one we can see is amendment required at the top with regard to, under the name of the company, to specify the number of shares of common stock. So previously you can see on the right hand side they just said common stock, but now they've identified it in a key headline: 165,523,363 shares of common stock. So obviously the bears will say these are valued at 0.0001, and obviously the bears claim to be very intelligent. So that's the number of shares, and let's now have a look at some additional changes. So that was certainly a small change. So the next section we're going to look at is changes required with regard to the section conditions to the spin-off. So on the right hand side we can see that the last bullet point starts with no other events, and then on the left hand side we can see underneath that bullet point the company have now added 2 further and additional bullet points. So let's have a look at what these 2 bullet points are, because these are the ones that have been required by the SEC to be inserted. So the first one they've stated here is all necessary action and filings with regard to applicable state securities or blue sky laws shall have been taken, and any material third-party consents necessary to consummate the spin-off shall have been obtained or waived. So key differences there, key additions. I'm now going to share with you the definition, meaning and implications of something that I'm sure you may be thinking about. What do they mean by blue sky laws? So if we look at investor.gov, we can see here under the section Blue Sky Laws, the purpose of these is they are designed to protect investors against fraudulent sales practices and activities. So this is good news for us as investors, because what the SEC are requiring from the company here is confirmation that there is not going to be any fraud, there is not going to be any underhand dealing. So it's an additional form of protection for us as investors in terms of going forward, that any sale, any transfer of assets, any negotiations designed with the purpose of obviously protecting us as investors. The next amendment is under the section Table of Contents. So if we look at the right hand side where we have the subheading bidding with because of the speculative nature, and then underneath there you'll see the next section starts with strategic relationships. What we're now looking at is an addition of an additional paragraph. So what we can see here, what the company have now added in, is the headline: litigation may adversely affect our business, financial condition and result of operations. So this is something that is required for us as to inform us as investors of the risks, and also to inform us here that there may also be adverse publicity associated with litigation that could negatively affect customer perception of our business. So obviously this is something that the bears will take into account, and they know that if they create negative publicity, it's going to create a negative impression of the business, it's going to negative impression of people who are investing. So it's just an addition here to make you aware that obviously litigation and negative publicity is something to be aware of. And the next, I think, important change is not with regard to an addition, but with regard to something that has been removed. So again, under the section table of contents, on the right hand side is the original S1 form. We can see the sentence on the right hand side. We can see here it says the terms of the loan agreement have not yet been finalized. However, if we look at the left hand side, that sentence has been removed. So the implication here is that the terms of the loan agreement must have now been finalized and agreed. However, we're not aware of this in terms of what the actual terms are, but the good news is going forward the company do know what the terms are, and certainly that's positive with regard to planning and decision making. And the final change I'm going to identify is with regard to capitalization, and also this is an update with regard to the long-term debt. So on the right hand side we can see the figure was up to the period ending March 31st 2022, and that was just in excess of $15.4 million of long-term debt. And now we're looking at a period of June the 30th 2022, and the long-term debt has gone up by approximately 3 million, just in excess of $18.1 million of debt. So not a significant increase, and in the grand scheme of things not a huge amount. So overall, in terms of the implications for this with regard to sale of assets, I don't think this will make a big difference. Let's now have a look at what are the next stages and what can we expect going forward. So overall now we can see that the S1 has been released, and I do expect the SEC to approve this once we get formal approval from the SEC. I do expect Metamaterials to issue a new record date. Once we get that record date, everybody will be aware of the final trading day of MMTLP, the preferred share, and obviously that will also potentially give a timeline for shorts to cover, because after that record date MMTLP will no longer be trading, will not have any value, and then Nextbridge Hydrocarbons will be operating as a private company. And final thing I'd like to do is give a shout out with regard to some reactions. So first shout out here is to JKR007, and what JKR has said here is, with news coming at any moment, who was willing to sell those 136,000 shares by 9:20? This is going to convert to a private company and be sold for an unbelievable price just weeks away. So I do certainly agree with the timeline. We are looking at weeks, possibly even days. And also with regard to somebody willing to sell 136,000 shares, I'm not aware of that, so it'll be interesting to find out who that was. And the final shout out here is to Arbiter of Knowledge, and what he's done here is provided a speculative post with regard to a potential buyer for Nextbridge Hydrocarbons. The three options here are Exxon, Chevron and Marathon. So my choice and my answer for here is Exxon, and I'm going to speculate an answer here with regard to one share of MMTLP for a return of one share of Exxon, which currently trades around about $95, and I think that would certainly make many people quite rich. And finally, I'd like to finish off by giving a shout out to the weekly watch list. I'm going to share with you here a couple of the stocks that we called out. First one here is Holy. We also called out Ruby, ticker symbol RUBY. There was some good news on that, so let's have a look at how that is doing. So currently at time of editing, it's up in excess of 13%. It's also up in excess of 55% over the previous 5 days. So congratulations to everybody who got in on this stock. So if you'd like to get access to our full weekly watch list in advance of the market open on Mondays or Tuesdays when Mondays is closed, you can join the Discord for as little as $9 a month. Thank you very much for watching. Please stay tuned.